Hello everybody, Dodger here, and welcome back to the Vector Automotive Challenge. Today we are going to push our Vector Intrigue concept car out of the concept car realm and push it into production. Thanks to all your feedback from the last episode, 67 total votes on this one, so great to see so much response. 58 votes said, let's do this. So we had a high investment rate in the Intrigue Mark II. So I feel pretty confident in moving this car along and pushing it right into production. Now, before we do that, we have to flesh this thing out. We can't just produce one car, and there's still some tweaks we need to make it a little bit more production friendly. So it may lose some of the stats, it may gain some stats, we'll see. But there's some things that we need to do to make it, like I said, more production friendly, more cost friendly for us and the consumer, and just make it ready to wow some dealerships. And that brings up an interesting point. As a new manufacturer, we don't really have a dealer network to start out with, so we may need to sell our vehicle alongside an existing car company. So that's going to be a decision we have to make, is who should we pair up with to sell our car with that's going to offer them, you know, something unique to bring people into their car dealerships, and not make it so that we're competing against them and hurting the sales of our vehicle. So that's something we need to consider. Alright, so the year will now be 1962. So we'll bump that up. Something to note is that this naming style will soon be changing. We had a discussion in the comments of the last video about the way that I name the vehicles, and I put the manufacturer here and then the car's name and its trim here. In the next version of automation, we're going to have a separate menu for the manufacturer, so I'll be able to put, you know, that all of these vehicles are Vectors, and I'll just be able to put the name and then the trim here. That'll be awesome. But for now, I'm going to move the name of the car over here, because that seems to be the more common way to do it. Alright, so basing off the Intrigue Mark II, let's make a new copy of that guy. Please. Maybe. Come on, automation, you can do it. There you go. There you go. Everything's happy now. So now we have the 62. We need to bump the year up though. 60, no. It was apparently right, but it was not displaying. 62 Intrigue. But this is going to be, what do we call the regular model? So I'd say the version we see here, the one we rolled out as our last concept car, we'll call this the Sport model. Oops, not Spurt. Sport model. Because, yeah, it's not bottom of the barrel, and it does have some good performance to it. But I think we need something that notches in below this. So if we go back to the actual chassis menu here, this is something we haven't really messed with in a while. The only thing we're going to change is we're going to change the body over to steel for the cost and the cost of it. It's going to add some weight, but it's going to reduce the cost significantly. And now that we're not doing any changes to the body, hey game, these are not the headlights I chose. What are you doing? You're drunk, game, you're drunk. I think it's actually going to change back when I go to the trim. I think. Maybe? Yes. Okay. Everything's fine. Yeah, so now the actual Vector Intrigue production car will have a steel body. I really like this color for this car, so I'm going to stick with it for now. And as far as the looks go, honestly, we didn't get any major negative feedback about the changes to the body. Some people really like the first version more, and I get it. You know, that's basically how car design goes. In fact, that's how any design goes. Basically, no matter what you do, if you make a change to a design, somebody is going to say they liked it better before. And all you have to do is try and please the majority, and the majority seemed to prefer this look. I didn't really have any recommended changes, so I think we're going to stick pretty much with what we have here. But then when it comes to the other trims, we can make some changes there. Now, as far as the engine goes, just some minor changes here. I went ahead and put a second muffler on there. Baffled. Is that what I meant to do? I think I meant to do reverse flow. Yeah, because it has a little bit less restriction to it. And we'll reduce our loudness down because it does seem as though a 1960s inline 6 is probably not the sportiest sounding engine in the world, and this is just a normal sports model. We want it to have somewhat of a comfort rating, so let's go ahead and stick with that. And otherwise, I think I am going to leave it pretty much as is because it was, again, well received. Okay, but we do have more weight now, so it's important to go through and tweak these settings because we could have introduced some faults with the car. Hey, I chose the next one. I want the next chart, please. Can I have the next chart, please? Animation. Nurse, I need the next chart, please. I don't know what's going on. It is what we would call in the business borked. Let's see. Maybe running it through will help. And our drivability did come down a little bit, 30.9. Sportiness came down to 12.3. But we did get a nice bump in comfort, which is cool, at 27.6. Prestige came up, and safety came up with the steel body. That's an important thing. You can see we gained in the order of about 250 pounds, but this car is still very light at 22.45. This is the big factor. The total cost of this vehicle is now $7,778. Keep in mind that this is not $1960. That part of the game has not been implemented yet. This is today dollars to produce this vehicle. So it's, I hate to use the word, but it's kind of an irrelevant statistic for us now. So what we will have to do is create some replica competition cars to better judge what our total cost looks like. So we will do that next time. I'm going to need you guys' help on that. Tell me what you think some good competition for the Intrigue would be, and I will do my best to replicate them in the next episode. Okay, and as expected, the charts are now working correctly, and actually, most of the things seem like they are pretty hunky-dory. We did have some brake fade issues come back into play, thanks to the weight. I don't think there's much we're going to be able to do about that. And they're drums, so I don't think pulling vents towards them is going to do terribly much. No, I can't increase the size of these at all. I can increase the size of the rears, which does seem to be helping. It's going to reduce the comfort because it's putting some rear bias in the thing. But it did help the fade some, so that's good. That's a good thing. We like that. And there's one last change we need to make. I'm sorry to say it, but the record player's got to go. Basic AM radio is what we will have for the sport model. It only makes sense, doesn't it? And I bet you that reduces our cost even more. Yes, $6,800 now. And probably shed some weight. Look at that. That record player was heavy. $21.66. So that should help bring things back up into pretty good shape. Yeah, I think this gets the stamp of approval. This is ready for production. So, how about a little bit more left field variants? Okay, I think the next one I want to make is the more economy version, and we're going to call this one the Traveler, because it's going to be a little bit more comfortable, I think, and a little bit more bare bones as well. So we'll cheapen it up, we'll increase our economy, and see what we can do to make it the most economical version of the car without losing its spirit completely. So we are going to actually take off some of the fixtures, some of the fancier stuff, to try and save some money, and yeah, just kind of bare bones it down a little. There we go, and then good old-fashioned black. I think that's the look I was going for, and yeah, it still retains its look, but it has just that little bit less style to it. Now what we're going to do is bring in the E series of the Vexi 6 because we just want to try and reduce the cost maybe a little bit, and maybe, I don't know, probably not going to get a whole lot more economy out of the thing, but we'll see what we can do. Alright, so the E series, what changes did we make? The compression ratio has come down. And then the biggest change is in the carburation system. We went from twin 2 barrels which are just a little bit more complicated and a little bit pricier, even though they do have a slightly higher max performance. Let us run that compression ratio to a single 4-barrel. So the cost difference was about 70, I believe, and that will relate directly into the price of the engine. And then just a regular standard intake. We're still using superleaded because I feel as though it's worth the improved fuel economy to spend a little bit more on gas. And gas isn't too terribly expensive at the moment anyway. Fuel mix is down from 13 to 13.5 to 1, so a little bit leaner. And ignition timing is down as well. We went down to a regular short cast header as well, and actually, no. Need that exhaust, so everything else is the same there. So the material cost of this engine is $673 versus the other one was like $710. And the economy has come up to 15.66% from the low 14s. So that's a nice little bump. And we really didn't lose very much power or torque. Just a little bit of responsiveness. And it's going to be a little less sporty of an engine, but nothing major. So let's see what these changes have done to the trim of the vehicle. Probably going to make some light changes here. And we're going to go and continue the theme of trying to reduce cost. Looks like going to a 2-speed box would indeed do the reduction of cost pretty significantly. What would an automatic box do? That's an important thing to look at. Something that I have not looked at all. Increases the drivability a bunch and pretty much murders the sportiness, takes it out back and says, "You're done." That's an important thing. But comfort does come up as well. Prestige kind of stays the same and safety comes up. Material cost would come down. Miles per gallon would come way up. So, well, I mean, let's move this around a little bit. Is there any saving the sportiness? No. There's no saving it, basically. But we can continue to improve the drivability of the vehicle, but man, does it make it slow. I think anything above 10 seconds, 0 to 60, is unacceptable. So, no, we're not going to do that. Not with the straight 6. If we had stayed with the bigger V8, we probably could have gotten away with it. But not with a straight 6. Just not going to work. Alright, so with a 3-speed box and a spacing of 40, I was able to retain the 9.9, just under 10 seconds, 0 to 60 time, and a 21.1 miles per gallon. That's not too bad. I'm feeling pretty good about that. In the wheels department, let's see about, we were using medium compounds, I believe. Let's see about maybe just narrowing up those tires a little bit. Or maybe even just the fronts. Let's see, that would increase the drivability significantly. Comfort and prestige stay the same. Sportiness would come down, I guess. Yeah, sportiness comes down quite a bit because you introduce all of that understeer. But this is not the sport model. This is the everyday, daily driver model. So I gotta get it through my head that not every car has to be sporty. That's something that's taking some practice for me. So at quality with 3. Everything is that way. And then if I drop it down, we lose our 0 to 60. Yeah, okay. We lose a lot of things. Never mind. Just kidding. Brakes. The brakes should probably stay the same. The vehicle still weighs virtually the same. Aero stays basically the same. I was able to go down 1 click with the cooling due to the difference in the engine. No major changes there. Interior-wise, we will be putting a standard interior in this guy, which will reduce our cost significantly and actually increases the comfort significantly. And the basic AM, I think, is probably fine. It's a lot of weight and a lot of money to go up to the standard, and that's not what this model is all about. What kind of changes? Oh, it does make some pretty significant changes, doesn't it? The old power steering. It's very good for this stuff and very bad for this stuff. The drivability comes down below 30. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So yeah, let's retain the power steering. This is probably where the comfort is going to increase significantly. Let's just do the comfort setting to see what it does. Up to 34, and actually it still needs to come up a little bit. There we go. And I would like to get the comfort above 20 if possible. Alright, with some gentle massaging, I was able to get it up to 20.2 on comfort. Sportiness is above 10, and drivability is at 33.2. I'd still kind of like to get that drivability number up, but this is probably more era correct. Not every vehicle of this era is super drivable. It's not a normal plain Jane commuter's car. It is a little bit of a driver's car too. So there's a balance to strike here. There's also a balance to strike here. Look at the difference in the total cost of this car. Even though it's pretty similar, the total cost has come down to $5,567 and only 96 production units. So this thing is cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. And that's what we wanted. Let's see if we can compare real quickly. So we have the Sport. So numbers wise, it is only better in sportiness and prestige, and the weight and a little bit in utility, but that's close enough to not really be a concern. And then worse in economy, cost, and drivability, which is the three categories I wanted to drive down with the Traveler model. So I think I have pretty much accomplished what I wanted to accomplish there. Okay, so we've got the Traveler, we've got the Sport. Now we need something to get people in the door. We need something with a little bit of wow factor. We don't have too much money to work with, but let's see what we can do with some of our existing technology and tooling to try and make this car into something that's maybe low production, but something that we can put out front of whatever dealership we happen to choose and really get people in the door looking at some Vector automobiles. Alright, so for our low production vehicle, we are going to make the Rally Edition. And when I say Rally Edition, I don't mean something that will be necessarily an off-road rallying car, but something that will be a true competitive, sport-bred, low production vehicle. And with this lower production vehicle, we're going to try and make some changes that make it look a little bit more like the initial Intrigue concept car. So we're going to lengthen out that back window, really slope down the roof, so it's a little bit more of this hatchbacky kind of shape. And then, yeah, let's do some fixture changes as well to maybe sporting it up. So we can do things like that. Really chrome up the front end. And yeah, let's do some other things too. Alright, so here's our changes for the body. Nothing too dramatic. Just some things that really kind of sporty it up a little bit. And they're functional as well, because we're going to need a little bit more cooling with what we're going to do under the hood. Some of you probably already know what I have in mind, but what I want to do is bring back that V8 that we made for the initial concept car. So let's take a little look back at this V-Series now that it's properly been named engine and see maybe if this was production ready or not. I don't 100% remember everything that I did with it. Yeah, so far it doesn't look like there's anything too crazy here. It's really pretty similar to the build of our straight 6, except it has 2 more cylinders and is in a V configuration. Nothing is overly extreme here. Even in the bottom end there was nothing but cast parts, so nothing here was too crazy. It was just maybe a little bit touchy with the reliability, so we may need to reduce the RPM a hair, which we can do pretty easily. But if we look here, it's actually more that the bottom end is reaching its torque limits than its RPM limits. Well, it's kind of a little mix of both. But let's see what we can do about maybe increasing the quality of the bottom end to, yeah, relieve some of the burden off of it. It's going to increase the price of it, but that isn't terribly important at this point. So the production version of this engine will have 272 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque. One thing that was discussed before was perhaps reducing this cam profile some, because we really don't need that much power with this engine because of the fact we can't really seem to put it to the ground. So let's consider doing some of that. We're having knock issues now, so compression down a hair, and that will take care of that. And yeah, we'll just detune it a hair, and we've picked the reliability up. Yes, reliability is now a little bit more manageable, and $1,010 is really not that huge of a difference compared to the i-Series. It's something I think we can handle. It's not going to bankrupt us. It's not a huge risk, but it's just something interesting enough, I think, to get people's attention back. So, of course, here in the trim, we're going to need to make some major changes. The 3-speed box is probably okay, but we will have a much higher top speed. I'll need to adjust this with the cooling, though, so let's do that first. Because we will need a hair more cooling, not too much. And yes, indeed, that does change our top speed a little, so this is probably okay. If we shorten it up, see, we're just spinning tires basically. So the spacing needs to be really, really long just to get the wheel spin down, so the thing is drivable at all. It's almost to the point where the 2-speed makes more sense because there's less shifting and less wheel spin because the first gear is so long. And if you look at it, going to the 2-speed made everything happier. Alright, so that seems happier, but let's see what we can do. Can we get some larger rear tires on this thing at all? Even if we have to go down to 13s, yeah, 205s, only 195s in the front. Okay, that's fine, don't care about that. We don't need the offset though. Sports compounds will bring it down as well. Okay, and then if we increase the wheel diameter, we were able to get the 205s up front as well, which is what I wanted. And we're down to 42%, so we're getting there. Ooh, with 12s, we can put 225s. Yeah, they're gonna look probably pretty silly. Get out of here. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Can we... Gosh, I wish you could change the wheel diameter front to back. Because that does look... On a scale of silly to silly, that looks pretty silly. Let's go back to 13s. Okay, so that's fine. That's okay. And then put them out all the way, as they should be. Not the fronts though. There we go. I think that's... Oh, can I get 40? No? It's 40 not... 40 is just not a number it wants to obtain. Okay. So, 205s are rear. Let's see if that'll stick. Now, as far as the brakes go, I am actually going to put a little bit of cooling on those guys. Oh wait, I didn't need to do that. Try and get rid of some of that brake fade. Yeah, it's improving it. Maybe a bit more. I did put the vents on there, so it's not unrealistic to have it. Okay, yeah, it's helping, but a minor way, because as I mentioned, drums, you know, putting air onto drums only does so much. Let's erase up the pads, because the tires just aren't able to be wide enough with the 14s that we really desperately need. Yeah, 195 is the most we can get on the 14s, and we really want those 205s. Okay, so I think that's the best we can get with the brakes for now. 14.2% brake fade, but the stopping distance is probably still okay. We'll compare it to the other ones to make sure. Aero, we already went there. In the interior department, Sport is probably the way to go, but we are not going to have a radio. No radio in this one. And that will just reduce some weight, 32 pounds, and really it offers nothing anyway. Let's see. Comfort came down, prestige came down a very small amount, so yeah. I'm more into getting this sportiness up. It's not high enough yet. Here's something I didn't consider. How about an automatic locking rear differential? So when we take it out on the street to try and do some quick passes, we can lock that rear end. Seems like a good thing to do. It brought our 0 to 60 down below 7 seconds. Very nice. Very nice. My goal has been achieved. 20.1 sportiness. Gosh, what a terrible, terrible number. But for a sports coupe of the 60s, this is a hard stat to achieve. Maybe we should have done some things different with the chassis overall to try and get this number higher. But we're trying to do something with a car that maybe isn't perfectly tuned for it. And it's kind of irrelevant because there's one number that trumps all of them. And that is this one. 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds is really, really quick. And a 15.4 quarter mile, 147 mile per hour top speed. These are some impressive numbers that will attract buyers, even if they're never going to try and buy this car because, well, if they drove it, they probably wouldn't enjoy it. So for a low production, just trying to get people's feet in the door kind of car, I think it's serving its purpose very nicely. Hey, body. No. Alright, so there is our initial lineup. We have the Rally, the Sport, and the Traveler, which will all be going into production for the same year, even though this one says 63. Maybe a half-year model is what we could assume that would be. So for these intrigues, I need to delete the concept cars out of here, but as I mentioned in the future update automation, this will no longer be a problem. So we have a few things to decide. A, what dealer network do you think we should try and get into? Think of American manufacturers of the early 1960s, and which ones do you think we should try and market our cars in? And number two, what cars are good competition for the Intrigue and all of its trims? Because next episode, that's what we'll be doing. I'm going to build them beforehand, but we're going to go magazine style and do some one-on-one comparisons with those guys. So in the comments below, tell me what you think. I have some already in mind, but more the merrier, so whatever you think would be good competition, just mention it below, and I will do my best to recreate it. That's going to do it for today. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you next time. So that's... forward bite has been my main concern the whole time here. Really struggling to get the throttle down and like hooked up. Take this up into one, out of one really. That's a turn we really have to take